I will call the meeting, the Agenda Committee meeting for February the 10th. We'll call that to order. Commissioners, if you would, please register your presence. And then, John, if you would, after we get this done, if we'll run the public announcement. Oh, I'm not here either. Okay.
You have 17 present and 4 absent. You have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, and Commissioner Daly let me know that she had a scheduling conflict and is not with us tonight, and I believe Commissioner Lewis is sick. I don't know about the other. Could we have the public announcement, please, John?
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
Thank you, John. The next item is the setting of the agenda. Commissioner Carter, did you wish to speak? Let me get your mic on here as soon as I can find the mouse on here. Go ahead, sir.
So I would gladly like to rescind G7.
You're pulling G7 from the agenda, proposed agenda?
Yes.
Okay, is there, well, we don't need a comment. All right. Now, G7 is pulled. Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion to set the agenda. Where was that? Oh, Commissioner Caskey, and second, Commissioner Carver. Sorry about that. Now, if you would, please. Ready to vote? We're voting on the agenda. You ready? Okay. Vote yes if you're accepting the agenda. Vote no if you're against it. With the removal of G7. Okay.
You have 17 yeses.
The agenda is set. Now, public input on items on the agenda. Who would like to speak to an item on the agenda? Seeing no hands, we'll move on. We'll now approve the agenda committee minutes from January the 6th. We'll entertain a motion. Commissioner French, is there a second?
Second.
Where was that? Oh, Commissioner Carter. Now, any discussion? If you are in favor of the minutes as printed, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Commissioner Carter, are you voting?
You have 17 yeses.
And the minutes are approved. Next is the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar, move it forward. Commissioner Carver, second, Commissioner French. Any discussion? That's without exception, right, gentlemen? Commissioner Carver? Okay. Commissioner French? That's the entire calendar. If you're in favor of the consent calendar moving forward, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Commissioner Moon. Call to Chairman.
You have 17 yeses.
And that item is approved and moves to the consent calendar of the full commission. I have no unfinished business. Under new business, budget transfers. Mr. Vineyard, let me get your mic on. Who, Mr.? Oh, I said Mr., not Commissioner. Go ahead, Mr. Vineyard. Do you have anything?
We just have the one transfer that's before you, and that would be transferring money from the Circuit Court Clerk's office to the Judicial Commissioner office.
Have a motion to send this forward. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Carver. Now, is there discussion? Commissioner Monroe, hang on, let me get the mic. Go ahead.
Thank you. I thought that this was already moved to a separate line in the budget.
We moved the judicial commissioners out of there, and now that that's been done and we've seen what the expense is going to be, we need to move money to finish paying them for the balance of the year. Because what they're working is evenings and weekends, and we've complied now with the law, which is to move them to their separate account. This is merely just taking money from the circuit court clerk's office, $6,000, transferring it to judicial commissioner's account.
So does it cost more than we originally thought?
I wouldn't say that. The money was in the clerk's office. We transferred the people. Now that we've seen what the operating cost is going to be, at the request of the judge, we have moved money from the circuit court clerk office to the judicial commissioner account so that there's enough money there to pay for them.
Did we have a budget at the beginning of the year for,
Only for the people.
and so what is this for?
This is just ancillary costs to help pay for the rest of the operation for the balance of the fiscal year. It's no net increase to the county's budget. It's just merely moving money now out of the clerk's office to the judicial commission account.
So they underestimated operational expenses?
No, I would say had they been left under the clerk's office, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but we needed to comply with the law, and we've moved the people under the account that the comptroller's office encourages everyone to use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, this is a transfer.
Right. Yeah, this is a transfer. The board is clear. If you're in favor of moving this to the full agenda, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 17 yes.
That item moves forward. I don't show any increases. Is that correct, Mr. Vineyard? No increases? Okay. Next item on the agenda, resolution to amend the zoning resolution of Blount County by adding the new RAC 2 Rural Arterial Commercial District 2. Chair will entertain a motion to get it on the floor. Move it forward. Commissioner Allen, is there a second? Commissioner Melton. Now, is there discussion? This is simply to send it to the full agenda, our full commission agenda. Is there any discussion? Board is clear. I'm sorry, just got it. Commissioner Archer.
Yeah, I have one question. I'm
Go
wondering, one of the constituents brought this up as to why this change is being made. Does anybody have an answer for that?
Commissioner Allen, would you like to respond?
I'll respond to that, please. First, I'd like to say this resolution is not rezoning any piece of property. It's simply making it possible for the property owner to apply for rezoning. It would still come to the Planning Commission and the full commission before the property has the possibility of being rezoned. The Planning Commission's working on this zone in publicly held meetings since at least November of 2013. After careful thought, the Planning Commission's come to agreement this is the proper regulations for the zone to maintain the balance of future development and maintaining safety and the beauty of Blount County.
Mr. Lamb, would you like to speak to that? Okay. Is that okay? Is that all? Hang on a minute. Go ahead.
Who basically initiated this request? Is that something we could find out?
Commissioner Allen, do you want to speak to that?
Who initiated the quest 2 years ago? I mean, the whole point is commercial development in the county and the 2-lane arterial roads is impossible right now unless you serve gasoline. So this is cleaning up that, making a new zone and cleaning that up and restricting it to certain businesses only.
Okay. Commissioner French, hold on. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I guess my only concern with this thing, with this proposal, is that it states every intersection that comes into the two-lane arterial roads. And, traveling Sevierville Road about once or twice a day, there are some intersections there that I don't believe would be conducive to commercial development. While I think there are some intersections that could handle the commercial development, I don't think every intersection that comes into that road, comes into the Sevierville Road, I just have a problem with going with every intersection. I think we could limit which intersections that would be available for development. Commissioner Farmer?
If I read this correctly, this came with a unanimous vote from the Planning Commission. Any request, whichever intersection, would be dealt with through the Planning Commission again. Now, I think I did read correctly under Mr. Lamb's penmanship that it was forwarded to us unanimous from the Planning Commission. That's all I want to know.
Anyone else? The board is clear. Commissioner Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you please let us know, I don't have access to the internet, who the members of the Planning Commission are? Can Mr. Lamb come forward and let us know who the members of the Planning Commission are currently?
Could you come up, Mr. Lamb? I don't have a computer to get to the internet here.
Thank you.
Put me on the spot to remember names, and I'm notorious for forgetting people's names, George. There's actually a box back there that has the names in it. There are 5 commissioners that are on. If those commissioners would raise your hands, okay? So you got the 5.
Looks like
you got 4 of them here.
Bowers,
5.
Allen, French.
Okay.
Edrick.
Ed Stuckey. Tom Hodge, go ahead. Bruce McNeil, yeah. Mm-hmm. Pardon? Jerry Roddy. Clifford, yeah.
Clifford Walker, that's one.
I think there's one more. I already mentioned Ed, yeah. Geneva Harrison, yes. That would be complete.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Moon? Yes. All right.
And I'm sorry, I am terrible with trying to remember names.
Well, I
Fred.
understand that. I am too. Okay, the board is okay. Commissioner Stinnett?
Yes, John, we're not through with you.
I was afraid of that.
Just so I'm for sure what this means. All this does is allow us to, it allows you guys, the planning committee, to allow businesses at these intersections on a piece of property that's 500 feet from the intersection, 300 foot deep on all 4 corners, and it still has to go through the planning committee, and you still have to approve everything, and it's not, if voting for this does not give anyone the okay just to go out and start building buildings. It
That's
still has
correct.
to come through you.
Yeah, that's correct. What you're doing is setting a framework for future action. The action will come when people come in and ask for a rezoning, okay? It sets the framework and sets the limitations. So if they're outside that 500 feet, they're not qualified to come in for a rezoning, and we'll tell them that. If they're not on an intersection, if they're on an intersection of a private road, they're not qualified for that. It's only public roads. So it would take a request for a rezoning. That rezoning is not an automatic okay. the Planning Commission and the County Commission can look at extenuating circumstances of each individual intersection, each individual property that comes through. And if there are extenuating circumstances that would not be in the public interest, and you can define those, you can turn down that rezoning. If the rezoning actually goes through for a property, it's still not finished, because then they would have to come in with a site plan before a business could be established. And that site plan would be reviewed by the Planning Commission.
Is that all, Mr. Deeney?
I'm glad that didn't involve names, because
Commissioner Crowe?
Yes, I have a kind of a concern here, and I want to preface it with a little bit of where I'm coming from to my fellow commissioners. I see this as a working session, okay? For me, my learning curve is tremendous. So I like to just go ahead and talk openly why it's a working session. And my concern on this one is, I look at this, I would think we set up committees, and the committees are supposed to be people who are really passionate or smart on those items. So I would think that our planning committee are people who are passionate or smart on those items. But I know since I've come on to the commission that so much of this is new, and I'm just starting to get a handle on it. I look at our planning commission, and I see that most of those members are new. And my concern is, this is fast. Well, new commissioners, newly elected commissioners, is what I'm thinking. And it's hard for me to get a handle on what's going on. So I'm afraid that some of our commissioners on the Planning Commission are just trying to figure out what's going on, and they didn't have enough time to process this and make sure that's the recommendation they made. I know they voted that way, because that's really what we do. When we don't know what's going on, we just kind of go along till we figure out what's going on. So my concern again, my whole point was, I feel like several of these people on the Planning Commission are new, and I just think it, so when I don't vote against the, when I vote against the committee, I will normally vote for the committee, but on this one, it's going to be because I believe so many members are new, and I just wanted you to understand where I was coming from.
Okay. Going to those who have not spoken yet first. So, Mr. French, you'll come, and Mr. Carver, you're next.
I'm next?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I want to verify, did you say that it is approved now if you're putting a gas station? So it's already zoned where if somebody's going to go in there and put a quick stop gas station, they can do it. So this is allowing, please.
Come up, Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb.
it is allowed as a special exception. It would still have to come through as an application, and it would have to go through the Board of Zoning Appeals as a special exception with a site plan and whatever, but it is allowed as a special exception under the present zoning, the R1 zone, as is a firing range and a couple of other things. I mean, that as special exceptions, but that's not a broad base of commercial activity.
Okay, I understand. And what we're doing, what you're requesting now is to set where we're going maybe 20 years down the road, 10, 20 years down the road, and having those regulations in place when the request comes into play, and
Well,
expounded upon what can go in there.
That's a fair statement. This is consistent with the plans that have been adopted for the county. The plans, particularly the policies plan, states that there should be commercial use throughout the county, but it does have a limitation of intersections and clusters. So we've identified the intersections and clusters in this instance. We did it before for the it wasn't clusters or intersections, but it was for the 411 South type of situation where you have a 4-lane. You actually have an RAC zone, but it's for 4 lanes. So we're now looking at 2-lane arterials. Whereas before it was allowed, a lot of uses were allowed as special exception in the old R1 zone, but it was taken out, I can't remember, maybe 10 years ago or 12 years ago. It was taken out because of some controversy down 411 South. And the idea, and those that were here around that time, the idea was that we would consider in a measured manner how we would put them back in So this is part of a long process that goes over several years, not just the immediate consideration by the Planning Commission. So yes, 20 years is a good time frame.
Thank you.
Let's see, Commissioner Akers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to try to clarify in my mind what I've heard Mr. Lamb say, and in response to some of these questions, the way that it is now, I believe I've heard that the prospective business use property owners have to have extenuating circumstances to get it now, whereas in the future, if this passes, they will have to have, the neighboring people will have to have extenuating circumstances to stop it.
That's not quite a fair statement. They don't have any use now that they can put into it, except for those limited special exceptions. One of them is a gasoline station, convenience store, and I mentioned shooting ranges. I think there are a couple more, but I'd have to really look closely at what those are. So that's a very limited palette of commercial uses. Generally, people come in and say, can I put up a beauty salon, or can I put up a barber shop or something like that? And we have to say no.
Unless they put it.
So it's not no, it's just no. There's no extenuating circumstance there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, while we have you up there, can you give me a personal opinion as to why you think this is necessary?
I won't give you a personal opinion. I'm the messenger from the Planning Commission. This has been duly processed by them and voted on, and I'll be glad to answer the details of the regulations, but I won't give you my personal opinion.
Okay. I can appreciate that. It's apparent to me that the people that were here tonight aren't very much in favor of this. And I have to say, I don't understand why we need a change. I see it benefiting no one other than the commercial developer. And again, I think it's kind of like the public be damned. So we've gone through this zoning rigmarole for years. It sounds like I'm obviously new here, but it was set up in a certain way for obvious reasons to please the public and the commercial people. And why it needs to be changed at this particular stage, I don't understand. But I thank you for your time.
Well, I can't address that last statement, and I addressed that before. It used to allow a wide range of commercial uses as special exception, but that was taken out. So if you go back to where we adopted zoning and you said that we needed to keep it as it is, we've actually changed it, and we're in the process of putting it back in a measured manner. So you can look at it in that way.
Commissioner Caskey.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lamb, one of the gentlemen earlier asked about if they wanted to expand their church or build onto their church, they could exceed the 10,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be allowed?
I would suggest that the church not ask for a rezoning of their property. It's not an automatic, like this does not rezone property. This sets the framework for rezoning. It would take the church coming in and asking for a rezoning to commercial use for them to fall under these regulations. So I'd suggest the church do not come in to ask for a rezoning. At the present time, they are allowed to, I'm not sure what the parameters are, but they are allowed in the R1 zone, so they are conforming use. And they can expand as a conforming use within the bounds of their setbacks and so forth. So this would not apply to them immediately unless they came in and asked for the rezoning. And I would suggest that they wouldn't. They're not a commercial use.
Okay, so this would not affect them?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, Commissioner French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several questions. Just as a point of clarification, if we create this zone, then a request would have to come through for a rezoning
Yes.
of that particular lot. Second question, if we rezone it 500 feet from the intersection, can you go to 3 lots down if it's 500 feet and build on that lot, or will it have to start at the intersection and move that way?
Well, let me give you a hypothetical. 500 feet with 350 feet back is 4 125-foot lots.
Right.
That are 1 acre or greater each. So you could go down 4 lots on an open piece of land. If somebody came in and said, I want to rezone the whole block, I want to come in and split it up into 4 lots, they can start at the end lot away from the intersection, yes.
Next question. Where the where the intersection comes into the road, if it's not a cross intersection, a piece of property that is across from the 1 lane, from the 2 lane collector that comes in, piece of property that's directly across from that, is that considered part of the intersection?
I would say no, because the intersection goes to the center line of the road. I mean, basically, you get on the road immediately. You don't go across, so it's not a cross intersection. It is just a T intersection. I'd say it applies only to the side of the T.
One final question, just for clarification. We still have, if we create the zone, can we just say no to the applicant if we're not happy with?
According to due process, you can't be arbitrary and capricious. We had a discussion on that in one of our trainings. If you have a reason for saying, if it's like traffic, or it's like a blind curve, or it's some other extenuating circumstance that you can define for the record, you can turn it down. This is not an automatic. This just sets the parameters. It's not an automatic go for anybody that comes in for a rezoning request.
One more?
One more.
Go ahead.
If this zone is created, the Planning Commission can treat it like the campsite regulations. We can tweak it.
Yes.
If we're not happy with what's coming down the pike, we can tweak it and change it, and if the commission approves it.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You did hold public hearings on this matter in the Planning Commission. Is that correct, sir?
Every meeting is a public meeting. We did not have a legal public hearing. We did, because we're not required under state statutes, but we did have a special meeting workshop where we invited the public to comment, and that was back early in 2014.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The board is clear. Are you ready to vote? You are in favor of sending this to the full commission, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 12 yeses and 5 noes.
It does go to the full commission. The next item on the agenda, annual adjustments for the financial assurance agreement with the City of Alcoa, Maryville, and Blount County landfill.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I move that we send this to the consent calendar of the commission. Our only option is, this is an annual review, our only option would be to close the landfill.
Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Farmer. Is there discussion? Board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes to send it to the full agenda. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote. To the consent calendar. I'm sorry, I missed that part.
You have 17 yeses.
That item moves to the consent calendar. The next item is setting of public hearings, and the date of April 17 has been recommended. I would entertain a motion to set hearings under A, B, and C. Is there a motion? Commissioner French, is there a second? Where was it? Commissioner Bowers? Any discussion? Commissioner French?
Just as a point of information, Mr. Chairman, these are recommendations that were brought to the Planning Commission by the County Commission, things that they would like to see changed in the campground regulations. The Planning Commission took those under consideration, made the changes, and this is the final product.
Commissioner Moon,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a date. Do we have a time and place?
I was going to say at 6 o'clock is what I'm assuming. Is that okay with the motion? Who made the motion? French and Bowers, is that okay? 6 p.m.? It'll be 6 p.m. April 17th. Pardon me? April 7th. Oh, I see. My L in April made it look like 17. It's April 7th. Is that okay with the motion, folks? April 7th. Thank you, Ms. Rhonda. She keeps us straight.
Is that all three items?
All three items was the motion. April 7th, 6 p.m. The board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no.
You have 17 yeses.
That item is approved. G7 has been removed from the agenda. G8, a resolution to establish an ad hoc committee to study the feasibility of recycling in Blount County. Chair will entertain a motion. Where was that? Commissioner Stinnett and Commissioner Carver. Is there discussion? Commissioner Monroe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two issues. The first is the date of the recommendation, May 21st, 2015. If we want to adequately study that, I don't think that's sufficient time. I think we should give the people at least time, 6 months, 4 to 6 months. I mean, if we don't nominate the people tonight and approve them by the end, and we have to come back and approve them in March, then that'll only be 2 months, and then they would have to have the stuff to us at the agenda meeting, not at the commission meeting, unless we voted to suspend the rules. So this is not hardly adequate time. I move to amend that they send their recommendations to us by the August agenda meeting.
You mean to appoint the committee?
No, their recommendations. It says the ad hoc committee shall report back to the full commission with recommendations for implementing a recycling program in Blount County by May 21st.
Okay.
So I move to change that to the August agenda meeting, and I put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion to amend. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Moon. Now, is there discussion on the amendment only? If you're in favor of the amendment, please vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Commissioner Carter.
You have 16 yeses and 1 no.
And the amendment passes. We are back on the original motion with the date changed to August 21. Is that correct? Was it August 21st?
The August agenda meeting.
August agenda meeting, okay. The August agenda meeting. That amendment passed. So is there discussion? The board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 16 yeses and 1 no.
That item is approved. Next item on the agenda, or that item moves to the full agenda, I'm sorry. Request from Blount County Corrections Partnership for the Blount County Commission to hold a teleconference with a jail study consultant in a public setting. Chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Monroe, is there a second? Or was that? Commissioner Archer. Now, is there discussion? Commissioner Monroe, you have, hold on, okay.
Yeah, I would like for us to do this at the next commission meeting this month, next week, if we can get it on the agenda. We spent $95,000 on this study, so we owe it to the taxpayers to have a public discussion on the results of that study.
I believe it is a deadline for getting it on the agenda. Commissioner Moon, do you want to respond to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd recommend a special call meeting, deal with that one item. That'd be the chair's recommendation.
Okay.
The deadline's really closed.
We're talking,
The item be going forward be G9, a request. We'd be voting on the request at the full commission meeting. In lieu of that, change it to set a special call meeting, set up a time with the consultant, and that should be able to be done within 14 days. Special call meeting only requires 5 days, 5 calendar days, not 5 working days.
would you like to amend it to set it as a special call meeting?
Do we have to have a resolution in the packet? No? Well, I'm okay with a special call meeting, that's fine with me, or we can do it at the March meeting, commission meeting as well. I mean, if we want to have a public hearing and full discussion, then, okay, I'll move to amend that we call a special meeting then.
The chair call a special meeting?
Yes.
Okay, there's an amendment on the floor that the chair would call a special meeting to hold this meeting with the jail consultant. Is there a second? Or was it Commissioner Allen? Any discussion on the amendment? If you are in favor of the amendment, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no.
You have 15 yeses and 2 noes.
The amendment is approved. We're back on the original motion. Is there any further discussion on the original motion? The board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, yes.
If you'll state the question for us, please.
The question is to send to the agenda the request from the Corrections Partnership for the Commission to hold a special called meeting for a teleconference with the jail study consultant in the public. I assume it'd be in this room, and that special meeting will be called by the chairman. That's the motion before us now. So if you're in favor of that motion, the board's clear. If you're in favor of it, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no.
You have 16 yeses and 1 abstain.
That item is approved. Now, under announcements and statements, let me get my announcement thing here. There was included in your packet something from the HR team, and that would require, it can move to the full agenda with 2/3 vote or put on next month. Commissioner Aker, do you have something?
I have a statement not
Go
regarding
ahead.
this.
Oh, well, go ahead. I'm trying to figure out my announcements here.
I look at the agenda list tonight and see no appointed names for a purchasing commission. According to Tennessee Code annotated 5-14-106, we are required to have a purchasing commission. The commission shall consist of 5 members, 1 of whom shall be the county mayor. The remaining 4 shall be appointed by the mayor with the approval of the county governing body. The law requires the mayor to do his job and put the nominees before this board, yet there are none here this month. Officers of the county are subject to removal from office for failure to follow the law and do their job. And I believe we need to operate within the laws of the state of Tennessee and have a purchasing commission. And I'm very disappointed that we don't have any names before us this month. Thank you.
The board is clear, and I have no other announcements. I'm sorry, I do. The ad hoc committee to study the amending of the existing water quality buffer resolution and related regulations will meet Monday, February 23rd, 2015 at 5 p.m. in room 315 here at the courthouse. The Corrections Partnership will meet Wednesday, February 18th here in this room at 5 p.m. The education meetings for 2015 have been rescheduled. The meeting will be held on Tuesday prior to the school board meetings. The next meeting is at 12 noon at William Blount High School on March the 3rd. And that's all the announcements I have. The board is clear. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, now I'm sorry, I missed that. Any public input? Items not on the agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned.